This is a Fox News update. The film world is mourning two deaths, actor River Phoenix and director Federico Fellini.
Mystery still surrounds the death of River Phoenix.
It's 7:33 now. An autopsy later today will determine the exact cause of death of one of Hollywood's rising stars, River Phoenix.
The press made the tragic event even worse. First, the paparazzi published a photo of Phoenix on an ambulance gurney. The next morning, the news station seemed to revel in the 911 call made by Joaquin. My brother's death had been spread across the world. The press had been heartless. It's entertainment to them. I had reporters in my face asking questions like, "How come you were so polite when you called 911? Heartless bastards. How do they even begin to know how I felt that night?" This 911 call was sent into the radio and television. It was terrible. They photographed him in his coffin, and these hysterical girls who were at the funeral almost fell into the grave. Repulsive. It was a long time before I overcame this shock. The Phoenix family did the only thing they could do. They disappeared from the media's radar and didn't show their faces in Los Angeles for more than a year. It wasn't until 1995 that Joaquin came back to Hollywood. He was responding to an invitation from Gus Van Sant. 4 years prior, the director had filmed My Own Private Idaho with River in the leading role. Later, he called on Rain Phoenix to perform in Even Cowgirls Get the Blues. And now, he was setting out to resurrect Joaquin's career with a film adaptation of the novel, To Die For. Producers proposed Matt Damon for a leading role as well. To avoid rumors about favoritism or personal sympathy towards the Phoenixes, the director held open auditions and allowed his colleagues to select Joaquin first. Joaquin's co-stars were Matt Dillon, Casey Affleck, and Nicole Kidman. In the novel, the heroine jokes that if a movie were to be made about her, she wanted to be played by Tom Cruise's wife.
Who I strongly relate to because, we have similar physical traits.
Joaquin spent most days on set with Tom Cruise's wife. The actress and the director were both worried about the young man's shy nature. He would verbally berate himself between takes and avoid his colleagues. In one interview, Iris Burton's assistant stated that he had never met a person with a lower self-esteem. Nevertheless, Joaquin was given both the first sex scene of his career and dramatic sequences with Kidman.
James, do you think about me when we're not together?
All I do is think about you.
His interaction with Casey Affleck is also worth mentioning. The film gave Joaquin a best friend, and 8 years later, they became relatives when Affleck married Summer Phoenix.
I like it.
To Die For premiered in October of 1995, with the name Joaquin appearing in the end credits for the first time. The actor had abandoned his pseudonym as a way of marking a new phase of his career as an adult. After the failure of his Cowgirls film, Gus Van Sant had regained Hollywood's favor, basking in the rave reviews of the media along with the main characters. Kidman's performance received the highest praise, but critics also liked the frightening, lustful character of Joaquin.
See, nobody ever called me that before.
As had happened 6 years earlier, Iris Burton's office was drowning in scripts where Phoenix was cast as a vulnerable teen junkie. The actor brushed the offers aside without even reading them. He was just afraid of being typecast as he had been while suspended in midair on the set of Space Camp. So for the next year and a half, Joaquin didn't work. But it wasn't for a lack of offers. Director Paul Thomas Anderson saw him as a replacement for Leonardo DiCaprio, who had rejected a role in Boogie Nights. But Joaquin's agent persuaded him to turn down the raunchy movie. Iris Burton was quite protective of Phoenix's reputation and believed that playing a drug-addicted porn actor was beneath him. For that same reason, he also didn't star in American History X. Joaquin's potential to play a dramatic role was obvious to everyone around him, but Burton saw him more as a hero lover.
Jeez, no one could be that much of a pushover.
She found her pupil a romantic role in the melodrama Inventing the Abbotts. The cinematic excursion into small-town 1950s America was memorable to an audience for a couple of unexpected plot twists, and to Phoenix for the first serious relationship of his life. Joaquin and Liv Tyler's romance began on set and would continue for another 3 years. Together, the couple left for Italy, where the actor modeled for a short time. By becoming the face of the Prada collection, he seemed to have accidentally turned a marketing ploy. Firstly, it enabled him to shed the image of the outsider that had followed him ever since his role in To Die For. Secondly, the media finally stopped comparing him to River. Joaquin was no longer referred to as the younger brother of that actor. Now, he was one half of one of Hollywood's most popular couples. At the same time, he landed a minor role in the crime thriller U-Turn, where he worked with Sean Penn and Oliver Stone.
People around here call me TNT. You know why?
They're not very imaginative.
Because I'm just like Dynamite Boy, and when I go off, somebody gets hurt.
In the crime comedy Clay Pigeons, the plot was developed around Phoenix's character. Even though the actor liked the script, he doubted that the director would be able to effectively transfer a deadly combination of black humor and violence to the screen. But after meeting David Dobkin for the first time, he was sold. The debutante director had earned fame as a music video director, working with acts like Tupac, Coolio, and Elton John. This unique story full of twists and creepy yet funny scenes was Joaquin's boldest experiment. His chemistry with Vince Vaughn gave the film even more charm.
No, I'm not even sure that Anthony's a woman.
Well, of course it's a woman. It's got long hair.
Well, it could be a rock star. We don't fucking know what it is, do we?
The actors had come together because of financial problems, not their own but those of the film. On the very first week, Joaquin's trailer was repossessed, and so, for the rest of the days on set, he hung out in Vaughn's trailer.
Hell, man, you don't mind about that or nothing, do you?
No, hell no.
Phoenix was remembered by the film crew not only as a talented actor, but also as an ardent defender of nature. In one fishing scene, he refused to hook a fish. Before that, on a shoot for Prada, he wouldn't wear leather shoes. Perhaps every producer or director who has ever crossed paths with the actor has a similar tale to tell. So when Dobkin told Joaquin about his next project and offered him the role of a bullfighter, Phoenix replied that he would only do it if the bull emerged victorious from the fight.
You can't be serious.
While filming Clay Pigeons, Phoenix also received a role in Returning to Paradise, a remake of the 1989 French thriller Force Majeure. In the film, the main characters face a difficult moral dilemma. Their friend has been detained for drug possession in Malaysia, where they had gone on vacation together. If they all return and stand trial, they will each receive 3 years in prison. If only one returns, then each person gets 6 years, and if no one comes back, the friend will be executed.
They were scared that I was gonna turn into strips and hang myself. So I said, hey guys, what do you think I'm paying you for?
Joaquin was eager to join the project. First of all, the character of Lewis was very different from anything he had done before. And secondly, the main character of Return to Paradise was to be played by his friend Vince Vaughn.
It's cool, man. That's totally cool, Lou. Totally cool.
It was the bond between the actors that convinced director Joseph Rubin to choose Phoenix. The director didn't yet know that the eccentric actor's talent would nearly eclipse the film itself. Joaquin arrived for shooting having lost over 20 pounds, even though no one had asked him to. He also decided not to play a balanced character, but turned Lewis into a real person in a horrible situation. Instead of delivering the brave and wise lines from the script, he begged and sobbed. The performance put the audience behind bars, turning them into Lewis's cellmates. He was so extreme. At one point, he discussed getting a couple of tough guys, putting him in a room for a couple of days and roughening him up in the middle of the night to simulate what his character went through in Malaysia. But I was like, we don't need to do that. I ain't gonna put you through that.
I haven't been harmed anyway. I haven't been tortured.
Return to Paradise brought Joaquin another due portion of recognition, but in the 3 years since returning to Hollywood, he never starred in any big-budget studio films. Studios give plenty of praise to independent cinema, but if the name of the actor on the poster doesn't get the public's attention, then their talent is much less appreciated.
So?
If you want to work on meaningful projects, you have to act in commercially profitable films as well. It was for this reason that Phoenix's agents got him the role of Max California in Joel Schumacher's neo-noir thriller, 8mm.
Well, what choices have I got?
Initially, the director wanted to make a cheap film with Russell Crowe and Mark Wahlberg in the lead roles, but the latter refused, and the aspiring Australian actor was not yet taken seriously by studios. Joel then offered the role to Nicolas Cage, the same Cage who had conquered the box office and not the current king of Grindhouse. Nicolas agreed, and suddenly the film was a blockbuster with a $40 million budget. In the company of stars like Cage, Gandolfini, and Stormare, who were experiencing the golden age of their careers, Phoenix stood out like a sore thumb.
All right, Master, now I don't know what you're looking for, but so we're clear from the start. I'm straight.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
His role as an eccentric, mysterious punk, combined with Cage's rugged private detective, became a sort of noir version of Starsky and Hutch, with a touch of odd, dark humor.
One guy sees it and pukes, another guy sees it and he falls in love.
The film brought in just under $100 million and added some weight to Joaquin's name on a poster.
That's great. Wow.
But his breakout performance wouldn't come until 1999, and Phoenix was already roaming from one site to another. The actor had agreed to star in the crime drama The Yards a year earlier. Aspiring director James Gray made him fall in love with the story about friends at the epicenter of a corruption scheme. James wrote the screenplay based on true events involving his own family.
If you take care of them, this business can take care of you.
Joaquin had become obsessed with the role and was as elated as the director when the film finally received funding.
I mean, he's been so loyal. Took us a while to get it up and running, but Joaquin was like the first actor to attach himself.
It was at this time that Phoenix had his first encounter with the ruthless world of agency tactics. His decision to turn down a role in Boogie Nights was coming back to haunt him. The film had captivated critics and made Mark Wahlberg famous. Mark also liked the script for The Yards and had agreed to play a supporting role. Agents took this opportunity to show the actor their level of influence on the film industry. They bid on behalf of their clients for the lead role. The director ultimately approved Wahlberg, but still kept Phoenix on the project. The whole thing was just an agency power play to show Mark Wahlberg how powerful they could be. Like, we can get that for you. In fact, Gray rewrote the script so that Joaquin's character had just as much screen time as the main character. Joaquin was also a great fit for the role of Willie Gutierrez. No matter how hard Phoenix tried to avoid it, he still received a typecast role. The truth was, Phoenix was just too good at playing outsiders, scoundrels, and introverts. In The Yards, he fully embodied the role of a vile crook who only makes problems worse as he tries to solve them.
It's no big deal. I can take care of myself.
Joaquin and Mark were joined by James Caan, Ellen Burstyn, Faye Dunaway, and Charlize Theron. The latter got a real taste of Joaquin's acting tactics. In the film's cinematic scenes, he didn't merely simulate a fight, he actually hit and shoved the actress.
Leave me alone!
In his commitment to realism, Joaquin also suggested to Wahlberg that they fight on screen. The actors beat each other for 2 takes filmed by 3 cameras. The next day, they arrived on set so bruised up that they looked like a plum and an eggplant in a grade school play. To get into character for an emotional scene, Joaquin would bang his head against a wall off camera. Well, the media found out about this and began talking about the actor's nervous breakdowns. He replied that it was just one of 100 ways to get himself in the right mindset for a scene, because particularly difficult sequences require a special approach to properly convey the character's emotions. The freedom to improvise and make collective decisions helped James Gray create the film he wanted. Unfortunately, his vision didn't satisfy producer Harvey Weinstein. He thought the film was too gloomy and depressing.
Shut up.
He demanded that the final act be reshot, and nearly half the footage re-edited. Despite the fact that the director compiled with the producer's wishes, Harvey delayed the film's release for 2 years and then only allowed a limited release in the year 2000. As a result, 8mm was postponed, and The Yards became a way for the producer to demonstrate his power. Moviegoers had forgotten what Joaquin looked like, but he continued to work non-stop. From the moment the script for Gladiator fell into the hands of Iris's assistant, Chris Snyder, agents went to war for the role of Commodus. Ridley Scott was a fan of Joaquin's work. He had been impressed after seeing him in Clay Pigeons, a film produced by the Scott Brothers Company. Unfortunately, the director's approval wasn't enough. He hounded the studio for permission to film the first Roman epic in half a century. By the 1950s, audiences had become bored with the genre, causing production companies to shy away from investing in similar projects. The only thing that made studios consider taking the risk was the director's contribution to world cinema. They hadn't believed in Alien or Blade Runner either, but those turned out to be cult classics. On the other hand, every Ridley Scott project in the last 10 years has been a commercial failure.
That's unbelievable. Thank God times have changed. Have they?
The studio ultimately forked out the money for Gladiator, but on the condition that they have total creative control. Joaquin found himself on the battlefield with Ridley in the fight with DreamWorks. The bosses weren't impressed with Phoenix's audition. Not that they couldn't see Phoenix as the malicious, spoiled Emperor of Rome, but Scott had already talked them into bringing Russell Crowe onto the project. If they were to add Joaquin as well, then there would be no star power names on the poster of the biggest blockbuster of the year. DreamWorks was leaning towards Jude Law, but his agents demanded that the actor be approved without an audition. Finding themselves in a stalemate, the studio's founder, Steven Spielberg, took Joaquin's side. Perhaps out of a sense of nostalgia towards River, but more likely out of respect for Iris Burton, who had been supplying talented children for Spielberg films for 20 years. Thus, Joaquin Phoenix was approved for the most important role of his career. The signing of the contract coincided with his breakup with Liv Tyler. Joaquin's face wound up on the front pages of the tabloids. Luckily, his departure for the filming location in Malta saved the actor from hundreds of hungry paparazzi. After arriving on the island, he got to witness the greatness of cinema in all of its glory. On the first day of filming, the director focused on just a couple of B-roll shots, but there was nothing simple about them. Gigantic statues towered before Joaquin. People were riding by on camels, and all around him were about 150 extras dressed in ceremonial Roman armor.
How do I do? Who am I kidding? I'm from Florida. I'm gonna walk out and wave.
Obviously, Phoenix was a little intimidated by such a large-scale project. He even asked Russell Crowe to make fun of him in between takes. The Gladiator wasn't a fan of these methods. Russell later admitted that the only way he could relax his co-star was to employ the most sophisticated of acting techniques. Crowe and Richard Harris, who played Commodus's father, met with Joaquin after filming had wrapped for the day and got him drunk until he passed out. Phoenix was no longer shy in front of his co-stars or the film crew. On the contrary, he enhanced each take with his improv. This scream wasn't written in the script and actually terrified Connie Nielsen. In the scene where Marcus Aurelius is murdered, the actor believed in what was happening so much that he fainted as soon as Scott shouted "cut."
Men with me, brother. Our great father is dead.
Joaquin also wanted to intensify the changes that Commodus goes through. He envisioned his character taking the throne as a lean, ambitious young man, only to become a flabby, jaded emperor.
I really wanted him to be the young prince in waiting, and then become more disheveled as he becomes emperor, and alter his physical appearance, because you leave the story for a few months, and it becomes Russell's journey, so I put on some weight there.
I will give the people the greatest vision of their lives.
The only problem was, Phoenix forgot to let the director in on his vision. While reviewing footage, Scott pointed out to his assistant that Joaquin appeared to be gaining weight. The assistant went to the actor's trailer and shouted through the door, "Ridley says you're fat."
And the emperor was heartbroken.
Phoenix didn't eat for over a week after that, and got back into shape. He didn't want to attract too much attention to himself because he had already made life difficult for the costume designers by demanding that all the leather elements of his costumes be replaced with synthetic material. Phoenix's inner circle knew that a role in Gladiator was bound for an Oscar, but just one project a year often isn't enough. Past experiences suggested that the award is given on the basis of cumulative merit. Robin Williams put in a couple of years' worth of fruitful work before being handed the trophy for Good Will Hunting. Kevin Spacey celebrating his victory for The Usual Suspects after also playing a psychopath in the thriller Seven that same year. Based on this logic, agents were in search of another opportunity for Joaquin. They found one in the biological drama Quills. Once again, Phoenix found himself up against Jude Law for the role. And once again being selected thanks to Ridley Scott. The director released him from filming in Malta. Joaquin flew into London, auditioned, and transformed back into Commodus the very next day.
Striking story.
A couple of weeks later, he found out that he had landed the role. Upon completion of his work on Gladiator, Phoenix jumped right into the filming of his next project.
Everyone has talents if we look for them.
Yes, I'm sure.
His first appearance on set captivated screenwriter Doug Wright.
He had a cigarette dangling out of his mouth, and he had on these really intense aviator shades, and his hair was all tousled. And he was like, "Hey, dude." Then he walked onto the soundstage, and the cigarette gets stamped out, and the glasses come off, and someone runs a comb through his hair. And the guy is suddenly an early 19th century priest. It was the most transformative moment. It took my breath away. Joaquin is someone who could slide by you in the hallway, but aim a lens at him, and he becomes 30 feet tall.
Phoenix was playing the most difficult character and still nearly overshadowed his co-stars. An impressive achievement, considering that he was in the company of professionals like Jeffrey Rush,
Yes, dear heart, it's true.
Kate Winslet, and Michael Caine. The multi-layered Abbé du Comer runs the gamut of experiences. The character's true feelings are hidden from those around him, but Phoenix never lets the viewer forget about his secret desires.
The next time you feel the urge to visit the marquee, I hope you'll come to confession instead.
The media declares that Joaquin is pursuing an Oscar from 3 directions, 3 supporting roles, 3 contenders for Hollywood's biggest award. Indeed, in May of 2000, Gladiator is released. Worldwide recognition, commercial success, and universal acclaim are achieved, thanks in no small part to October reviews of The Yards, for which Phoenix receives plenty of praise. In January 2001, just before the Academy Award ceremony, Quills premieres to a shower of compliments from critics.
Good. Very good.
Joaquin is nominated for his role as Commodus, and all he has left to do is put on a tuxedo and prepare an acceptance speech.
And the Oscar goes to Benicio del Toro in Traffic.
Alas, he loses to Benicio del Toro. But now there is little doubt about his status as an A-list actor. Or so it seems. In reality, Joaquin was now paying the price of working for a year and a half straight with no breaks. His acting marathon had completely exhausted him, both physically and mentally.
So when I finished the film, I was exhausted. I went straight home to my mom's. I sat in the bed for like 6 weeks and did absolutely nothing.
Hey, do you like our work? Let us know with your like and comment. Push that subscribe button and share with your friends. If you want to support the project financially, become our sponsor on Patreon or YouTube sponsorship. Thank you.